I was able to train at Zenith with Robert Drysdale.
Nice.
So shout out to those guys. Yeah, really appreciate it. Really kind. Let me and my brother train there. Who my brother's in the sauna with me, by the way, one of my main training partners. Give him a quick
Wait,
shout out right there.
hold on. We have to be very clear about this. Just sauna etiquette, especially for television standards. I don't know how people look. You can't just be turning the camera around and be like, here's my brother.
He's wearing shorts. They're just short shorts.
No, thank you. It's just, I'm saying, who knows if there's an old dude in the sauna with you guys. I don't know how this looks. You got to clear this through me. What is up, grappling fans? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rav Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. Today, we have an incredible guest, but before we get to Paul, I do want to say a few things. Number one, we hope that you have enjoyed these ADCC trials winners interviews because, honestly, they should really get these kinds of profiles. And you don't see too many people doing this sort of interview format, where you sit down with them for an hour and get to pick their brain and find out what it is that gives them the competitive advantage and the just a little bit of extra effort that sometimes gets them to the podium. And speaking of that, I want to let you guys know that yes, we have a big announcement here on the show. Maybe you heard about it. Maybe you're watching those other videos. You know I'm talking to you at the very beginning of all of these. But we're doing a big push, which is this. We're going to be moving to a subscriber-based sort of deal here at the Grappling Hour. There is always going to be a free component, but what we are going to be doing coming up very shortly is at the beginning of next month, we will be giving early access to our subscribers. So yes, you can wait to see some of these videos, but we'd kind of love it if you create a community with us and you support us for what we do here, because we don't have fancy backers. We don't have networks here. Every time you see me interview these people, it is me doing the editing, writing, producing, all of that sort of stuff. So it would mean the world to me if you gave me some support so that we can build the show into something even bigger. All you have to do to find out more information is go to the link below. There's a little link down there in the description. Click that and sign up for our mailing list. And then you can decide if, say, you like this interview and the other interviews that we've done, and you think that the prices are fair, you can join in with us. Again, I don't want to spend too much of your time selling you on this, but keep that in mind as you watch this interview. If you think we do a good job, support us. Anyway, Paul's the best. He has such a great sense of humor. I got to know him in a way that I didn't know outside of his competition kind of persona. When I saw him, he looked like he had a good sense of humor, but in this interview, I felt like he was smiling, telling jokes. He's actually a funny lawyer, which doesn't always happen all of the time. But I want you guys to get to know him, and if you like him, you like this, give us a like and a subscribe, all that good stuff. But we got mad love for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoy this interview. Let's get to it right now. Ladies and gents, welcome to another installment of the Grappling Hour. We are making our way through our ADCC trials winners here in North America. And there was a recent thing, maybe you saw it, I don't know, you probably did. If you're watching the show and you didn't watch it, I'm a little ashamed of you, honestly. We don't have a ton of these things. There's literally 2 North American trials. If you miss one, that's pretty bad, actually. So go back, watch it. Watch the whatever streams you can find. I don't want to say do it illegally, but there's enough clips you can kind of get an idea of what happened without actually buying it. But anyway, I love our people over at Flow. Just expensive, okay? Let's just be real. Anyway, here's what I have to say. The gentleman that we have today, he is your winner in the 99 category. It's weird because I'm used to saying negative 99, but I'm not going to say that here because I feel like that's a derogative term. It feels like, no, it's not negative. There's nothing bad about his performance, his weight. And in fact, if you watched him this weekend, he was on a streak. He was killing it. And one of the things that is great to see is when somebody not only replicates the success they've had in their jiu-jitsu career thus far in, he's also represented the Americans in global sort of jiu-jitsu combat before as well for the global side of the grappling world. But here he actually gets to represent the division this fall at ADCC. He was a savage all weekend long. I am so happy to get to talk to him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show for the very first time, one, Paul Ardila. Paul, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, man. Congratulations are in order for you. Where are you right now? Because I'm looking at it. You've got some beautiful wood behind you. It makes me think that you're in a sauna of some sort. Where are you, sir?
Yeah, I am in a sauna. I wanted to, I guess, like use my time to like get a little sweat in before I have an attorney dinner at 6:15. So I just got out of work, hopped in here, and I was like, I go ahead and use this time to do this interview and hit the sauna. So
you, I think, will mark the first guest that we have ever had in the sauna. And I don't know how we've gone this far without having one in the sauna, but congratulations to you nonetheless.
Thanks.
So let me see if I can go here. You know, you allude to this, and I think it's important to kind of make a mention of, but you are somebody who is very busy a number of the days that you're working. Do you mind telling us what it is that you do on the side when you're not beating people up on the jiu-jitsu mats?
Yeah, so on the side, primarily I do jiu-jitsu, and on the side, I'm an attorney.
Okay, so how do you reconcile this? I'm doing jiu-jitsu, but also I got to work some client attorney privilege going on the side. Like, how are you able to juggle both? Because sometimes I am just late to class just because I'm lazy. So you're making the most out of your time, and I'm wondering, how are you able to maximize that time so much?
Yeah, I think I try to be very intentional with my time. Like if I have any sort of, let's call it free time, I try to pick between, I guess, lawyer work or jiu-jitsu, and then just try to do something that will forward one of those two things. I mean, those two things are really, I guess, both of my passions in life. So I just always try to do something that helps me get better at one of those.
So now that you've mentioned that, has there ever been a time that you abandoned something you were supposed to do as a lawyer, maybe a dinner? I'm not saying you're going to skip out tonight. We'll make sure to get you out in time and wrap you. But has there ever been a time where the jiu-jitsu side won out over the lawyer side?
Yeah, I would say Monday through Friday, most of the times, I'm doing jiu-jitsu instead of like any sort of attorney work event that I should be going to, even though like most of my colleagues are going to them. But I think my boss is pretty understanding, so he knows I'm not gonna be going to those while I have training. But today, since I had this, I decided to take off training and just hit the sauna instead.
Good for you. And you know what, dude? That's a healthy thing. I think it shows growth. I think it shows that you're maturing. If you're able to look at somebody and be like, you know what, I will not be at training today. I have a dinner, thank you. And also, I'm going to sauna while I talk to this random host dude who wants to know how I did at ADCC.
Yeah, man, you got to do what you got to do.
Hey, listen, I'm appreciative of it. We'll start right at the top because I do want to get into your actual ADCC prep and your day. So for you, what does prep look like for ADCC? Because it's a pretty big tournament. It's a lot to get ready for. And I know for sure that it is different than most other tournament scenarios. So what are you doing in terms of your camp to get ready for ADCC?
Yeah, man, I know most people like they do different things right before a big tournament. but we train pretty hard here, just year round. So I don't. I mean, I wish I could say something really cool, like, yeah, man, I did this, and or like I started lifting weights, or I did, who knows, like however many track rounds or something like that. But I no, I didn't. I just trained uh, pretty much like 6 or 7 days a week, one training a day. That was it, and then the rest of the time I had to work. So
Okay, jealous. Not gonna lie, that's a pretty uh, anger rousing. Because now I'm starting to do the math, and I'm like, I probably actually get more mat time than you do, and I'm not an ADCC trials winner. So okay, I see how this is now. Uh, as I think about this, though, for you, do you have to go to a courtroom on occasion?
yeah, yeah. So I do mostly trial work, and I mean, although I'm not in the courtroom every single day per se, I try to go in several times a year. So
So, like, if you have to go into the courtroom and you have this moment where you want to drill, do you look at, say, you know, somebody in the courtroom and you're like, Your Honor, may I borrow your arm real quick? I have a wrist lock that I'd really like to try real quick.
unfortunately, I just got to imagine it more than anything else.
Understood. Now, again, I want to take a sidebar here because I very briefly remember seeing you. I saw you compete, but at the submission only series, which was the qualifier for the World's tournament. Do you mind telling us about that experience?
Yeah. So I did the like UWW grappling team, and I competed for the world team there. Um, the trials happened in LA, California, and I went there, and the rules were actually pretty different. It was my first time competing on that rule set. Uh, like if you pulled guard, your opponent automatically got 2 points, and it was only 5-minute rounds. And I guess as everyone saw, I guess not everyone, but maybe some people saw at ADCC, I actually enjoy pulling guard. So I had to just do a lot of wrestling, way more than I wanted to do. But it was cool, and it was a brand new experience, and I ended up winning that trial as well. So I ended up going to Serbia to compete for the world tournament for USA.
What was that experience like? Like, how would you describe that? Because not many people also get that opportunity. So I'm pretty sure in my brain, I would go into a Rocky Four montage if I knew that I was representing the United States. But that's just me. I can't promise that for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that. I guess maybe I didn't feel the same way to an extent. It was, yeah, no, it was really cool because I mean, we had a full team going. We all had USA gear, and I think there's a pretty special pride and feeling that you get whenever you're representing your country abroad. Especially, it just, I mean, I guess in wrestling and this style of grappling, uh, Russia kind of dominates and does really well. So you extra feel pride when you're representing the U.S. In that tournament. So no, it was an awesome feeling, and I'm hoping to be able to do it again this year. Actually, if it all goes well and if I have time.
It'll be tricky. I just know from the time, but I'm all for you doing it. I just know, I'm good with calendars. So I tend to know, like, okay, ADCC ends and you're essentially on a plane there, is how it's probably going to need to be.
Oh, yeah, I actually did not know the date of the world tournament this year for grappling. For like
So
the
I
UFC
don't know
grappling.
the exact date, but I know in the past, I believe I've had friends who've had to look at that schedule. For example, one of my good friends, Eric Medina, who I believe you know,
Okay. Yeah.
he's a good guy, but I just remember him being like, "Oh, hey, bud, I gotta get on a plane and I gotta start flying out there." And I go, "Wait, didn't you just qualify?" "Yeah, I gotta get out there real quick." "Oh no!" And I go, "Oh God, okay." Meanwhile, another friend, and I want to say that this actually connects well, is that you and John Hansen have both represented America, and he also qualified for ADCC. So was that kind of like a cool thing to be able to join that club as well? Because it's a very exclusive club.
Uh, yeah, it was awesome. First of all, John, if that's your friend, you're 100% automatically my friend. John is probably the nicest guy I think I've ever met. Uh, like truly, I mean, first of all, I think a lot of people in jiu-jitsu are extremely kind, but John is just one level above that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think we very easily became friends while we were abroad. And I know he was cheering for me and I was cheering for him during the first ADCC trials. And when he won, I was super happy for him. And I was like, man, I really wish, like, I really want to be able to make it to the next one so we can keep hanging out. So I'm really happy that it all kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, I mean, John is, since we've done our interview, because he got one of these as well, he's become a subscriber on our show. You know, he actively will send me notes and be like, I thought this interview was really dope. And I go, oh, did you watch that? Like, I don't expect it. I never know. And he's an avid watcher, and so I'm sure he'll probably be seeing part of this. So shout out, John. But yeah, that's really dope. And I know him to be somebody who cares deeply about his teammates, and I know it's a real thing to him because he spoke with such reverence for that experience as well. So the ADCC camp itself, not maybe the world's most comparable thing. Like maybe your experience is going to be different. You're coming in with a lot of jiu-jitsu experience. So if that's the case, what does your day look like? Because you're out in Atlanta now, so that means you have to fly over to Vegas. What's the travel like, and what's the accommodation like to actually get ready to be in competitive mode?
For trials, I think we flew out there 3 days before. I used to, like, when I first became an attorney, if I were competing at a different state, I could only fly out day of, just because, like I said, didn't have enough pool, enough experience to have to take more days off. Um, but yeah, this time I took 3 days off. I got kind of settled in. I was able to train at CNID with Robert Drysdale.
Nice.
So shout out to those guys. Yeah, really appreciate it. Really kind. Let me and my brother train there. Who my brother's in the sauna with me, by the way, one of my main training partners. Give him a quick shout out right there.
Hold on. We have to be very clear about this. Just sauna etiquette, especially for television standards. I don't know how people look. You can't just be turning the camera around and be like, here's my brother.
He's wearing shorts. They're just short shorts.
No, thank you. It's just, I'm saying, who knows if there's an old dude in the sauna with you guys. I don't know how this looks. You got to clear this through me.
I got you. Now, there's only two of my training partners here. My brother, Sergio Ardila, and then another one of my friends, Ernesto, black belt, really good. And I think, in fact, when you were asking me, how many times do I train, and you were like, hey, I have more mat time than you. I think being able to train with these two guys so often probably helps me, and like the fact that I have less mat time than a lot of other people. So I definitely want to make sure I give them a shout out because of that.
That's a wonderful sentiment, but I do have to ask, would you say that if they weren't there? Because it feels like it's a little bit more like peer pressure that you're going, oh, by the way, couldn't have done it without them. Yeah, obviously. Man, so important.
No, yeah, I will say that regardless. I mean, both of them are just straight beast black belts. My brother, he's competed a lot in ADCC. He's beat Satava, other big names, and even just now he competed at ADCC, and in the 77 kilogram, which is one of the toughest brackets, he made it to the round of 32 and ended up losing to Majid Hage by 2 points. But he was dominating, I would say, a good chunk of that match until he went for a submission at the very end.
That's pretty dope. And how did you guys both get involved in jiu-jitsu? Who was the first one to actually get involved?
My brother was actually the first one to get involved. And then I guess through him, I got involved.
So did you know that you wanted to do jiu-jitsu first, or were you trying to be a lawyer first? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, trying to be a lawyer is just as long sometimes as people getting a black belt. So where in that journey or in that process did it happen first? Was it the jiu-jitsu side or being a lawyer?
So I started my undergrad in 2009, and I really started training jiu-jitsu in 2010, even though my brother, because he started a little bit before me, I kind of got, I went to some of his trainings and I goofed around every once in a while, but I started really training in 2010. So I guess if you like define me becoming a lawyer, or at least the idea of when I started like my education in 2009, maybe that one would come first. But if you think about it, when I started law school, which is 2015, then I would say jiu-jitsu came first.
Okay, well, that's a good definition. I'm glad you approach that very much like a lawyer, strategically dissecting it and going, well, Raph, it depends on what the definition of is. Because as you're explaining it to me, I go, dude, just pick one. I don't care. For the sake of an answer for a soundbite, I'm not going to be able to cut that now. But that's fine. It's fine. I just want you to understand that as I see it, you probably were a jiu-jitsu guy before a lawyer, because it seemed like you thought that this was going to be something that you could do that's fun, that you can do something that's athletic, you can connect with your brother, which I'm sure has to be super great. Super jealous of that. Don't have a family member who does jiu-jitsu, so I'm always jealous of those who have siblings who do it, or families. But if that's the case, when do you now start to think, this lawyer thing's actually going to make money, but this jiu-jitsu thing will cost me lots of money, even as a professional? I should do both.
I guess I started wrestling in high school. So I was 14 or so. And of course I was, like going to school and then wrestling, going to school and then wrestling. And then I started college and I was going to school and then training, going to school and then training. And then same thing in law school, going to school and then training, going to school and then training, going to school and then competing, training, competing. So, I mean, I think it was pretty natural for me to just keep doing that when I graduated and got a job, because like, I think if you just really like hone in on what your schedule looks like, you should be able to fit in most things. I mean, I always knew that jiu-jitsu was going to cost me a lot, like a good amount of money. So I'm glad being a lawyer kind of helps me with that.
No, I know you make money. You know what I tell the people who make money on our sport? Go make the money. Do this as a side hustle if you need to. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, there sometimes is a correlation between those people who have very successful careers, CEOs, lawyers, doctors who end up doing jiu-jitsu. There is a high competitive streak with a lot of those people. And so sometimes jiu-jitsu helps to fulfill that. Is that true in your case? Are you competitive that this helps you kind of channel part of that competition? Or is it really just something that you've kind of over the years been like, I don't know, man, I've wrestled, I like to be in shape. It just seems like what you're supposed to do.
No, jiu-jitsu definitely helps, I guess, like fulfill that competitive side of me. But again, kind of like the question of what came first. I'm not sure if like jiu-jitsu is my only escape for my competitive nature, because, with law being, at least here in the United States, being an adversarial system, it kind of works as a competition in and of itself. So also, like being a lawyer also for me is an escape for my competitive side. So both, I mean, pretty much most of the things I do like help me fulfill that competitiveness out of me. So
copy that. Now I figure it all out. If you do lose in the courtroom, you're the first person to tell the other lawyers. So you want to take this outside? You want to go over to our gym? I got keys to it. We can settle this right now.
I may have joked around that with a couple of opposing counsels here and there.
See, this is now, we're getting to the stuff that I would do if I was a lawyer and I had the special skills. So I appreciate you being forthcoming in that, because that tells me you're an honest lawyer, which doesn't happen all the time. Anyway, not important. What I do want to get to now is the actual tournament itself. So do you mind taking us through your journey? We'll start with your first match. What do you remember from your first match, sir?
Sure. What I remember from my first match, I think first I had a bye, which was pretty good because it gave me an opportunity to see my possible competitors before I went against them. And I don't want to say because it's kind of mean, but I think one of my competitors was a little older just because of his gray hair, and he was going against a young swole dude for his first match. And I guess we all have certain beliefs, and I thought the swole young dude was going to win. Uh, but the older guy I think he ended up submitting him with a rear naked choke. It was amazing, really good technique. And then he went forward, and that was my first match. Um, so I was like, okay, this is, I should probably, I want to make sure I get in there and do work quickly because this guy he's good. He's good. So I want to be careful, and I just want to get in, get out sort of thing. So I think he was from 10th Planet. I don't remember his name, but he was a solid dude. So I get in there, I pull guard, and I think he was making pretty good movements to pass, like long stepping. I don't know if that's like a technique that like everyone has the same lingo for, but pretty much it's like you're sitting down in butterfly and you extend one of your legs like as far as possible. So the guy has to really like reach back in order to like recompose guard. I think he was trying to long step, so I started faking a little bit to try to like get him to stop doing that. And then I can't remember how he came in, or if I grabbed his leg, but either way, I pulled it out to single X, and then I did an outside heel hook.
That was impressive. That was a very good start to your day, by the way, because I don't know if you know what it's like to try and observe all this. I had 8 different screens going on, so I was just kind of in a matrix of like, okay, cool. And then I'm off to the races because then I'm trying to keep track of everybody. But I did see your first match. I might not have seen a couple of them because I think at some point I just went into a nap phase. And I was like, oh, I got to take a nap now strategically to come back for the out rounds. So just to let you know. But I did go revisit them later. It's just, that's how it goes sometimes. It be like that. So
I hear you.
Let's go to the next match. So what I noticed, though, that was really good for your start of your day was that you were having short matches that worked to your favor. But I also know that you have to be very careful when you're competing because you don't want to get too overconfident. You want to stay in that zone, that good, healthy zone. But it is a good thing when you're starting with very, very quick submissions. So what's going on in your brain as you go into your second match and get a very quick finish as well?
Yeah, so I think the first match was maybe like 40 seconds or so. Mm-hmm. And then on the second match, I think I only caught the end of my second opponent's first match, and I just remember seeing him like having really good escapes. Like I think his opponent, which is a pretty like swole guy, and I keep on saying swole because I just don't, maybe I don't think I'm that swole, but
that's a lie. You are just you can chill. You have photos on your Instagram that'll say differently, so I don't think you get to be like, oh, am I accidentally swole? How did this happen?
That's hilarious, man. Well, to me, when I see them, I'm like, okay, they're way more muscular than I am. So,
oh Jesus. Okay, yeah, well, I feel real bad for you. Okay, tell me about the match, please. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I thought he had like really good escapes. He was very slick, so I knew that I wanted to be like I didn't want to move too quickly. Instead, I wanted to be nice and slow and controlled. So he couldn't use like that slickness that I saw. So pull guard, and then I try to like move very slow and controlled, being nice and strong. He actually did a really good job. He stepped in with his left leg right in between my legs, so like separated my legs. And I always like to get inside as quickly as possible in order to like attack the leg. So he separated them, but then he started concentrating a lot on my hands, and I kind of played along with that, at least from what I remember. I mean, you saw the matches, so I don't remember. Like it maybe happened differently looking back at it, but like he started like playing with my hands, so I got out of it once, and I saw he went back for it, so I pulled back a little bit, so he went more after my hands, and it allowed me to get my leg back in, and then I think I toppled him over, and then got the 411 from there, and then again like I didn't rush it. I went nice and slow because I knew if I rushed it, he was gonna like do that like good scrambleness that I saw in his last match. I just took it nice and slow. 411, I think it was on his right leg, crossed the other leg over, and then just heel hooked him. I think all of that happened also within a minute or so.
Yeah, I mean, up until that time, you had less than 2 minutes of mat time for a very competitive trial. So again, while I want to caution you don't get cocky, it's just you got to feel pretty good in saying like, hey, all things considered, good start to the day. Things are going well. And that continues on to your next match. So what then happens in that next match? And before we go there, I do want to compliment you because I think you have a very good eye for keeping just a sense of what your opponents are doing. Because I like that you said you only caught half of it. I like the fact that even in between all of the melee, you probably finish somebody and you're like, well, that's nice, but what's going on over there? What's he doing? What's that entry he's doing? Okay, I'm going to keep note of that. Thank you. That's a man after my own strategic heart. So I'm a big appreciator of that.
Yeah. I mean, I like strategizing a lot. I mean, I know some people don't. Some people like they don't want to look at like matches from their opponents. Sometimes it makes them nervous, or I'm not. I guess a lot of things can come into play. But I, at least for me, like I prefer it because I think there's just a lot of like a little. They can show little things in every match that they do, even if you play back for the last like 3 years. There are certain tendencies that people have, and you can, I don't know, I guess work with those for your own match against that person. So, yeah, I'm with it, man. I love strategizing for my matches if I can at all.
Well, I tell
So I
people
always
this. I tell people like, because there's a lot of guys, especially pro folk, who will say things like, "Oh, I don't like to watch because I just, I don't look at my opponents. I'm just going to do my jiu-jitsu." And I was like, "That's cool. Do you have a coach that's watching? Because somebody better be. Because there's just too much information for me as a person who does their research, and maybe to overspeak on my side, I don't have great technique. So I got to strategize what great technique they have and learn how to modify that to my advantage. That is how I succeed in jiu-jitsu. So if I take that away from me, it seems like you're not doing the homework that could make the difference between you going to a high part of a very difficult tournament and sometimes maybe not getting the results that you wanted and writing a 12-page novel about why you lost. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I can't really think of any other like sport in the professional level where someone wouldn't look at their opponents and study them carefully to like help them during competition. I mean, I think again, I mean, I can't judge because I mean, maybe there's someone out there who's just so good that he doesn't need it, but at least for me personally, I need it. So I definitely I strategize as much as possible, and sometimes it works.
Well, it clearly worked that weekend. So, third match, what happens here, sir?
Okay, so third match. Actually, so I finished my second match, and some of the guys from Daisy Fresh, they come up to me and they let me know like, hey, you have one of our guys next. And his name was Michael Pixley.
Yep.
Really good wrestler. And it seems like he's a beast at, and not anaconda chokes, but Darce chokes. Okay, so same thing. I finished that day, go home, watch some of his matches. They're all extremely short, so I couldn't really get a lot of information out of him. But I look at his matches that he had here, saw that he circles a lot to the left, or at least in the matches he was circling to the left, probably to get that Darce choke, which was perfect for me because then I just kind of flipped my hips to that side, I guess, for him to circle to the left. So I sit, and I switch my hips, and then for a little bit, he tried to walk the other way, which I thought was pretty good, like a good counter for what I had prepared for him. But eventually, he started circling back the way I needed him to, or at least the way I had strategized. Because again, I like I told you, like some things you just do instinctually, and I think for him, circling to his left was just a thing that he does instinctually. But even if he had planned for it, Like he did it for a little bit, and then he went right back to doing what I think was just nature's to him. Like, hey, I'm going to circle to my left. So he circled to the left. Well, before that, we were fighting a little bit. He was grabbing my legs pretty well, keeping far. So I have this like heel hook entry, which I kind of, so I'm laying flat on the mat, and I throw my hand like to catch right behind his knee, and if I catch it, then I can enter. I just pull the rest of my body in. So that's what I did. He started circling a little bit to the left, and I threw myself, bam, caught behind his knee, and I pulled the rest of my legs in. Then I think he tried to dig both hands underneath to like pull the leg that was crossing his body. He tried to pull it out, but at that point I already had the heel hook, so I just finished. And I think that match might have been like 20 seconds or so.
Can I make a pitch here? Because what I just saw right there is something that I think BJJ Fanatics needs to get on, which is you shooting yourself describing what's happening, because I've never seen anybody more animated to be like, no, let me take you. You know how legs go like this? If he's here and then my arms out there, I was like, yo, I would actually pay for that, because you're super energetic as you're describing it. And more importantly, I was like, I don't think I've seen anybody with the BJJ Fanatics that's like done like, oh, I'm the cameraman too. Don't worry. I'm entertaining enough. It'll be great.
Hey man, first time for everything, I guess.
Hey, listen, I'm just saying everybody's going to have their thing. Craig Jones is all about dick jokes. That could be your thing. So just make it work for you. I want to point this out, and maybe this is again overreaching, but this is just from an outsider's perspective, which is the amount of time that you spend kind of studying and researching your opponents. Even in the descriptions, you've spent longer describing how the match went than most of these actually went. So there might be something to be said about the time that you spend doing the research so that you can have those shorter matches. Because in my perspective, you do all the analytics into your matches that became very important, because you go, no, I recognize he's really good at these things, or this opponent had this really good strength, so that when you have these 30-second, 50-second matches, it's because you did a lot of the front work at the very beginning by studying them. So it's not by accident. It's not like you got lucky. It's you did your research and you had some great success that happened relatively early. So I think that does bode well for those nerds who could be researching and studying their opponents. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, 100. Yeah, I agree. First of all, I mean, I can't say that I'm not a nerd myself, even though
you're too big to be a nerd. Like, if you're that strong, there's a moment where we put you in a ship and we say you're no longer a nerd. That's why when you see all these people who are in shape and they're like, oh, I'm a fat kid at heart, it's like, you haven't been a fat kid since 2017. You don't get to hang out with us.
Fine. No, you're right. I don't think I fit the mold necessarily, but I definitely spend a lot of my time like studying and researching and like taking my time understanding things. And I agree with you. I agree with you to an extent. I definitely think luck also plays a good like role in my short matches, because like, let's say for example, if Pixley hadn't, like if he had stuck to his initial strategy of circling to the right, I don't know how long that match necessarily would have gone. But I think I have to attribute a lot of time into, you're right, like I do a lot of research, like way before the matches. And I mean, generally plays out. I can see it play out very quickly. And like the entries that I'm getting to in a short time are there only because I knew what my opponent was going to do.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you kind of devil's advocately selling me out there on half of it. I agree with you to an extent, but you are mostly right. It's just, I can't say you're fully right. I understand that. I'm putting my outsider's perspective as to putting into context why you have, at one of the hardest trials in the world, less than 2 minutes, 30 seconds of mat time going into that Sweet 16, because
Yeah.
Again, if it happened once, maybe lucky. If it happens twice, happens 3 times,
Yeah.
strategically, maybe you're beating the stats because you're doing the front work, is just my guess. You can tell me whatever you want off the sides. What I can tell you, though, is the next match that you have with Steven Martinez,
Whew.
who's a friend of the show. So, full disclosure, whenever trials happen, I become Switzerland. I say, good luck to all of you guys. I'm not here. So even though I don't know you personally, at that point, I was looking at Martinez being like, man, he was on a tear that weekend too. So I knew he was going to be a tough match. Tell me about that match, because it was grueling and I know it was a lot.
Yeah. So um, before I get to the match, um, Steven Martinez, he tapped out Rafael Lovato, and I don't think he's gotten enough claim for that. And I think it's important that we give him due, because Rafael Lovato is a beast, a legend of the sport, and he tapped him out. And it needs to be everywhere. Like,
Here,
people need to
here,
know this. I don't
here,
know enough
here.
people
Well
know
said,
this.
sir.
So,
Listen, I am right there with you, because again, Lovato's a friend of our show too. So when those two went up against each other, it's like, good luck, boys. Obviously, I got a lot of love for both those guys. And when I saw that Martinez finished him, I go, you can't really underestimate that guy. Like, don't look past him, because he has the credentials. He's a bona fide fighter. I've taken seminars from him. I know him pretty personally from many years of doing interviews and just being friendly with him. And he has been nothing but kind to me over the years, him and his wife. They always look out for us. One of the times his wife came over with a beer and was just like, hey, I just thought you'd want this. Here you go. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, I had it in the car. I wanted to give it to you. So, like, they're friends. They're near and dear to us. So when he tapped out Lovato, I was like, you know what, dude? This guy is quietly assembling that resume in what many people would consider the later stages of their career that is comparable to people starting off and still exceeding. So I think it is perfectly reasonable to say he deserves his flowers, but I think it's even more epic that you would do it after the fact, because it not only shows good sportsmanship, but it shows that you're really paying attention to the scene in a way that I think is important. I think that is actually really nice of you. So kudos to you, sir. But having said that, would you mind telling us about that match?
okay. Yeah. So um, I knew he was really dangerous going in, because, like I said, I looked at some of his matches. Um, but same thing. I have to be confident in my own skills. So I pull guard. I look for, like, some of my entries, and literally nothing is there. Nothing is there. Like, I try to move them, nothing. Get in, nothing. The closest I got was, I think I, like, elevated him into a possible 411, but he defended perfectly, like, just like he was supposed to. I was hunting for that leg, and there was just nothing there. So I think mid match, there came a point where he was. Oh, and then also, so first, yeah. So I'm on bottom. I'm hunting for my leg lock entries. See nothing, and then he's at one point he just wraps my legs. He, like, puts them in between his hands and, like, just squeezes. And for a second, I was like, I can't move. Like, I'm stuck here. I just thought that, and I was like, okay, I'm either gonna eventually pull out a leg lock, which, for however long I've been on bottom, I have not been able to find anything. So the probabilities of in the future that happen are not very high. I can switch it up and do something else. So I was like, okay, I got to switch it up and do something else, because if I get tired, he's going to pass my guard. And he's way too strong for me to be on side bottom mount. So I'm like, okay, I get up. Well, first, I try to get up, and as I get up, he has a single leg. And I mean, even that, like, everything was a battle in that match. Even just trying to get up was a battle. Because he got up with a single leg, and I had to kick out, and I was already starting to breathe hard. But then I think close to the point where I was able to stand up, point started. So then it turned into a more strategic wrestling match. And I think I was only able to get in. Oh yeah, I got in once into his leg, and I was super like cautious of guillotines. So if I would get in a leg, I would get it. I think I would get in, and I would just hold for a little bit because I wanted to make sure that I would defend any sort of. Again, I guess you got me moving again and stuff. But so I will get in the leg and pinch hard, and then wait for him to throw a possible guillotine so I can hold off. Um, and then eventually, like, I think I got in once, and then he didn't throw anything, so I pulled the leg out quickly, and then I also saw that he's really good at scrambling, so I didn't like kick out the leg fully out from underneath him. Instead, I just kind of tapped it because I wanted him to just kind of like get him comfortable and balance, and I could try to grab his back. Sorry if I'm moving around a lot, but
no, this is great. Listen,
I'm getting excited.
It's your shtick. Lean into it, and okay. Again, even though we put you on the ship and we put you away as a nerd, this is the stuff that tells me, no, there is some inkling of him being a giant nerd about this stuff. So that's the part I connect with you about. You have that great match. How confident were you that the decision was going to go your way, though?
At that point, I was pretty confident because I think 2 times when he got down, I actually threw in 1 hook. So like, you can never be fully certain because, when you leave it up to judges, it's extremely subjective. But just based on what had happened at the match, he was really aggressive on his feet and he was controlling distance well. But like the positions which were closest to scoring, I knew that I had those, and I believe that those are more important. So I think at that point I was like, okay, I think I got this in the bag. But thoughts definitely crossed my head when I was just sat there waiting. And I actually have a picture that's super awesome where both Martinez and I are like dead, and we're like our arms are hanging on legs, kind of like that, next to each other. And I love that picture. Anyway, he probably doesn't even remember me or know me, but I like that moment. It was cool.
Absolutely. And I think I saw that photo too, because again, it speaks to the match that you had. And if you have such reverence for him as a competitor, it is dope just to take a moment to be like, sometimes, oh my God, what a life I lead. Like, what is happening? Like, is this real life? Am I just sitting here with like Steven Martinez after a fucking beast of a war? And then looking at him like, that was good, man. Okay. And that's got to be great. But I do know what you mean, because when I saw it, I said, it's close. I just know that sometimes that few seconds it takes for them to tabulate feels like an eternity. So sometimes, even if you're confident, I feel like the longer they take, the more it creeps into your mind. Like, did I do enough? Are they thinking about minute 7 to 8? Did they consider this? So there's a lot of stuff that comes into effect. I'm sure that can creep in there. But yeah, I thought that you did a great job in that. So now I want to talk about this, because this to me was a match that on paper, when it was announced, you versus Elder Cruz, I said, now that's going to be interesting. I wondered how much the Steven Martinez match would play a factor. I knew Elder's been on a tear this year, so there was a lot of hype behind him. They considered him a front runner in this. And for you to now have this match and make what I like to call a statement in your match, tell me a little bit about that, including maybe what you were thinking going into that match.
Yeah, well, first, Elder and I had faced before at the last, like in 2019 trials. And I got him with a heel hook, pretty similar to the one that I finished him this time. But I had a feeling that most people had written me off for that match. All right, sounds good. Just because of how well he had done over the past however many months, and him beating Nicky Rodriguez and stuff like that. But I just remember how our last match went, and then I saw some of his matches, and I knew he still had a lot of the same tendencies. So, I don't know. I was pretty confident going into that match that I was going to win it as well.
I saw that, and there was an elation on your face when you hit it that I think maybe was reflective of the fact that you knew you were going to the finals. But I also knew you were riding that momentum of, oh shit, I just pulled off something pretty dope AF. So do you mind describing what you were thinking after you hit that heel hook?
Um, man, I mean, you're really, really, really good at your job. I have to say, because no, you're right. Like, no, you're 100% correct. When I hit that, I felt like I was on cloud nine. Uh, it was just like, I don't know. I think even though I knew I had done very well in the past, like the different tournaments and stuff like that, like I felt like no one was even considering me as a possible winner of that match. So the fact that like I was able to finish it in something that I knew I was pretty good at, just felt fantastic. And you're right. The second when I got in there, like when I was able to get that leg in through there, like I knew it at that point. I was like, hey, the way he's defending, I'm gonna finish this. And I was already like, it was gearing up, I guess you could say. So I mean, yeah, you observed really, really carefully because that's exactly how it went down. But yeah, it felt great.
Listen, dude, I play a lot of poker. I read a lot of body language, and just the way, like, dude, I almost didn't catch it because I felt like my eyes did this. I was looking up and looking at a TV like this, and I felt like my eyes did this, and I almost missed it just by doing that one look down because I just saw like, oh, I think he might have this, and then I think it was like, well, I'm gonna get this sip of, oh my Jesus Christ, and I saw you shoot up, and I go, well, I guess he really got it. I guess that's what it is. I had to see the replay to actually get the nuance of it, but one thing that I made note of as I watched it live was, man, look at his face. Look how happy he is. Obviously, again, elder, friend of the show. No disrespect. But I looked at you and I just said, like, man, it's hard not to get behind your story. It's hard not to feel a certain sense of excitement of like something's happening. So I go, all right, no matter what happens in the final, let's see what happens here. And then the final hits. So what does that feel like? What are you thinking? Again, these are not super long matches that you've had. The longest one was Steven Martinez. So throughout the whole tournament, you maybe Tackett, maybe J-Rod, all kind of in the same realm of good subs throughout, but I still think you were beating both of them on time. So you're having a pretty good run here. What are you thinking right before that match takes place?
Before the finals,
Yep.
I mean, at that point, I have to say that I know you're saying that, like, the more it kind of happens, then maybe you can get overconfident. I'm not sure if I was overconfident, but I think it was starting to creep in because I actually didn't look at my opponent's matches all that much as I usually do. Um, Instead, I just kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of laid back and I thought of what the match was going to play out like, especially because I did like, well, I went second. I was the second semifinals of my weight class. So, as I was warming up, I would look to see how the match was going, and I saw a lot of wrestling. So I just kind of played out in my head, and I knew I was going to take that -1 in order to really attack the heel as quickly as possible. And then I saw actually that he won because of wrestling. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to play this whole wrestling thing. And then either, him or I winning by one takedown. No, like I'm going to turn this into a jiu-jitsu match as quickly as possible, even if I got to take a negative, and then just take it from there. So I actually didn't strategize too much for the final. I just kind of went with it. Maybe that overconfidence that you were speaking about, set in.
Maybe, I don't know, but so it's hard to explain this to people who maybe have never had this kind of a run. Sometimes you get on a hot streak, and when you get on a hot streak, you don't want to mess with fate, with the way things are going. And it seems like sometimes you just say like, no, I think things are going good. Let's just, whatever's working, let's do that. And I felt like it could have been, in your case, like, I can see the finish line. Like I'm visualizing my win, and that is your process. And maybe it's not going to be everybody's process. Some people need that anxiety where they question themselves so that they can prove that to themselves they are worthy, or that they did something, they accomplished something big. So it's like everybody has their own weird way of competing and maximizing their results. I'm thinking that for you, it became, yeah, I'm going to go to ADCC. Like before the match happens, you probably got in there and said, I can visualize how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it. And then you did, because I want to be clear here. If you had 7-ish matches or so, I think your total time, just from a rough estimation here, it's about 17 minutes and change. So that's a pretty good average. And then to make that happen, my result here that I had on my face after you did it was, I looked at you and you made such a quick finish in your finals match. I go, well, there it is. There's your winner. And I was very impressed. I looked at how you did it. I was immediately happy for you. I just looked around and I said, all right, so now a whole new ball game begins. So as we start to wrap things up, I have a few questions just that are kind of tying us into ADCC. What would a win at ADCC mean for you?
Like a singular win, like just one win?
No, dork. Like the actual tournament. Like, ref, one win there would really mean the world to me. It'd change my life. No, the whole tournament. What would winning ADCC mean to you?
Look, I can't turn off lawyer mode, all right? I'm sorry. What do you want from me? Look, you said a win, all right? A can have definitions.
A could have a different definition. Just logically do the extra step and be like, why would this guy be asking me what would winning a single match and an out round mean?
Well, because, here, let me answer both. How about that?
Okay.
First, I've been to ADCC and I have not won a match. So I think winning even just one match for me would mean a lot. It truly would, because I've done it before. Like, I don't feel like in the past I've had the skills that I have today, and I think I'm gonna be able to show a lot of people a lot of the things I've been working on. But even that, like, I've still have gone through the process. I've won some trials, and I've made it there. And then the matches that I've had, I've lost on some referee decisions, some very close matches, and you go home and you're like, hey, I'm glad I made it here, but it kind of stings that you didn't get even just one win. So even just one win that, some people might not mean a lot, it will mean the world to me. But winning ADCC, like one thing right now that I see a lot of people struggling with is having to pick between, like, hey, should I do something outside of jiu-jitsu, or should I concentrate wholly on doing jiu-jitsu? And it's a really tough battle. I can't say that it's one that I haven't thought of a lot, but I definitely want to, like, set an example for some people, hopefully. They're like, hey, it's not going to be easy. And believe it or not, like, I don't have, like, the most, like, free life, as in that I get to do a lot of things all the time. But, like, for some people, they're like, hey, can two people do two things well? Like, one to me jiu-jitsu and another career. Like, hopefully I can set an example that, like, hey, you can't do that. So if I were to win, I think I would, that would really solidify, like, hey, we can do this for the people who don't want to have to pick between the two of them. So that would mean a lot to me.
Good for you, man. I will say, though, from my non-lawyer ears, it would sound like you ascribed your own personal beliefs into that question rather than the intent of the question itself. So no big deal. It's fine. I'm not a fancy lawyer. I just know that you were like, a match? You mean getting a win for me when I have gone to an ADCC? I was just like, hey, bro, it's all good. I just want to know. I want to know how it happens when you win, because I'm rooting for you. I hope things go well. Here's what I'm going to say. What can people expect from you at this year's ADCC? I think you alluded to it. You were saying that you've got new tricks in the bag, but I want you to sell it. I want you to tell the people at this year's big ADCC show, what can they expect from you, sir?
They can expect that I'm going to do my absolute best. I'm going to go there to try to submit people. Like I'm done with, I guess, trying to win matches by points. Every match from now on, I'm hopefully, as people have seen, I'm going to try to be in and out as quickly as possible and put on a show and just show some good jiu-jitsu, even if sometimes I got to take a negative to do that. Like that's a risk that I'm willing to take from now on. So
that's what's up. All right, last little note for you, sir. Feel free to shout out anybody that you want who helped you get here. You can also do sponsors. This is your opportunity to plug whoever you want to plug, and also tell the people maybe where they can find you and maybe even get seminars or privates out of you, sir.
Sure. First,
wait, do you even need that? You're a lawyer. I just thought about that. Why am I giving you extra money? You make enough money. You're fine. Just shout out the people who got you to the main dance.
Okay. Shout out for my brother, Sergio Ardila. He's my main training partner, a beast of jiu-jitsu practitioner. My friend Ernesto, who was also just here, who maybe I didn't get to include him in the camera because I didn't pan to him quickly enough. My coach, Trukau, my team, American Top Team Atlanta. Truly all of Atlanta Jiu-Jitsu, which is on the rise. And you guys are going to hear a bunch of stuff coming from here. I guarantee it. Georgia, my state, of course, my countries, USA and Colombia, and everyone who has sent me like really supportive messages over the last week. I really appreciate it, guys. I've read all of them. It means a lot. Even if I didn't respond to you, believe me that I read it and it really did mean a lot to me. You can find my Instagram. It's PARDILA1. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't have any sponsors or anything like that, but if you guys want me to show my moves to you, I'm more than willing to do so. So just hit me up.
You're a good man. Hey, listen, Paul, it has been a blast to get to talk to you. There is a nerd connection here that I feel even stronger with because I love hearing the strategy. I love seeing the passion. And I got a hint of it when I saw you win. I saw that real look in your face, and I was really, really pleased for you to have that moment. So we have so many friends in jiu-jitsu. Obviously, it's impossible for us to be partial, but I love the fact that we get to celebrate your win and commemorate it in this little interview that we're doing here. So it's a testament to you, the skill that you've been putting on. And I know it's hard to lead two lives. I do it myself with production and being a host. It is very hard. So props to you, my man. You're doing it. You're killing it. And I look forward to seeing you this year, this fall at ADCC, my man.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it again.
All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with just a little bit left of the Grappling Hour. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Or actually, not even this week. It's today's episode. I'm so used to saying this week. Hey, Paul's great. You're great. Glad you enjoyed this one. Made it all the way to the end. Before you go, a couple quick reminders. Number one, thank you very much to Paul for his time. Number two, if you like this interview, check us out on Apple Podcasts. We're going to be uploading the audio versions of the show. I don't know if you like Spotify or Apple. I don't know how that goes. It's kind of like Bloods and Crips. I don't want to put words into your mouth. Just pick whatever one you like. And if you like both, we'll take ratings, ranks, and reviews on them. 5 stars usually are the best gift you can give. And speaking of best gifts, if you guys want to find out more about our subscriber-based model, let's say you like the interview. You're still watching now, so it means we probably did an okay job. If that's the case, you like the show, go to that link below down here and subscribe to our mailing list, and we'll send you some more information on how you can become an exclusive member of the Grappling Hour family. That's going to do it for us here today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We've got Amy, who is a beast, Amy Campo, who won over at ADCC Trials as well, as we continue making our way through our ADCC Trials winners. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.
Perfect.